I'm Daniel, the Past Life Regressionist, and it's time to begin.
Lift off and the clock has started.
3, 2, 1. This is Timeless Spirituality. Enjoy, you kill with your time.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Timeless Spirituality. So, I still need some more time with the season 5 premiere. I just want it to be the best that it can be. So for today, I am re-airing an interview that I did with the Reluctant Medium on the Reluctant Medium podcast. And I really enjoyed this interview. So I was really excited to put it out there on Timeless Spirituality. So I hope you guys enjoy it. And I'm really hoping to have it for you next time, the season 5 premiere. So thank you guys for being on this journey with me. And I think I mentioned this in the last episode, but I now have a YouTube channel. So go ahead and check that out at the Past Life Regressionist. And as always, if you would like to book a regression with me to discover who, when, and where you have been throughout time, you can reach me on Instagram at the Past Life Regressionist or my website, thepastliferegressionist.com. And now, it's time to begin.
Welcome to the Reluctant Medium, where we cover the gamut of out there conversations. With an open mind and a curious heart, we want to talk about it all, from psychic phenomena and energy medicine to beings from other star systems and out-of-body experiences. You'll find a great balance between grounded science-backed topics and others that science hasn't quite caught up to yet. I'm your host, Dr. Maria Rothenburger, a psychotherapist by trade and a reluctant spirit baby communicator. And hey, even though I'm a medium, I'm not buying everything folks are selling. I just have a voracious appetite to know more about what I call the world of the weird. Join us on your favorite podcast platform or watch on YouTube at The Reluctant Medium. I'll see you there. Hey everyone, welcome to the Reluctant Medium podcast. I'm Dr. Maria Rothenburger, your host for the podcast. We're going to have a really cool conversation today. I have Daniel, the Past Life Regressionist, here today talking about, surprise, past life regression. Welcome, Daniel.
Thank you for having me, Dr. Maria.
Heck yeah. We know each other from the New Reality TV network, which people can go see both of our shows, newrealitytv.com. And you're doing what on your show? Past life regression.
Past life regressions, I know. The last name kind of gives it away.
Right. It's pretty shocking. I'm surprised that you're doing past life regression stuff. It is so fascinating. I watched a couple of your episodes and it's really cool. I have a lot of questions actually about it. So first though, I would love to invite you to say, we know your name, but really who are you and what do you do? Do you do anything other than past life regression? And how did you come to do this kind of stuff?
So I'm Daniel, the Past Life Regressionist. So as the name suggests, I'm a past life regressionist. And I mean, yes, my trade and profession is past life regression, although I'm a musician, I'm a writer. I'm just a guy who's trying to figure it all out. I'm just on this journey. And the more I learn, the more I realize I don't really know anything. Or I guess the less that I feel that I know with everything that I learned. So I'm doing the best I can and figuring it out. And as for how did I find myself in this work? If we go back, I guess we can kind of go back to the beginning just a little bit. I was always the kid who thought that there was more to the world than what met the eye. But I had a system telling me that no. I am a firm believer in science to this day. But when I was younger, if science could improve something, then it's can't give it much stock. So I would think about things like past lives, but not really go into it. And then in my early 20s, I came down with an autoimmune disorder, sidelined me a lot through my 20s. And my firm belief in science and Western medicine made me say, this is the only way. This is the way that I will be healed, is by going down this path. And after about 6 years or so, I hit this point where I said, I think I need to explore alternative treatment. I can't even say the word. Like, that's where I was. And I tried a couple alternative treatments, and past life regression just happened to fall into my lap. It was something I learned about in a writing class, ironically. And I was just fascinated by the idea. And I thought about it for a while. Excuse me. And then I had my first session, and it absolutely changed my life. And I do not like to use the word absolute, but I will say it. It absolutely changed my life. I went in there thoroughly convinced that I was going to be healed, because in that time of learning about past life regression, I started to look into it, and I saw that was one of the big narratives, that this is something that can cure your illness. And I really latched onto that. But it did not heal me or cure me. No, I've seen past life regression do amazing things with a lot of the people that I've worked with. I just was not one of them. But the honest truth is that I don't think that would have really accomplished anything other than getting me my health fully back, because it would have been too easy. And something so much more valuable came out of that experience, which was a shift in perspective. So when I walked out of that first session, I'm someone, I kind of latch on this idea even today, that there's a difference between believing and knowing. And I didn't know that past lives were a real thing when I walked out. I was so moved by the experience that I genuinely believed it. But since I believed in past lives, I believed in future lives by default. So with that perspective shift, I walked away saying, okay, I've lived before, probably going to live again. So next time it could be better or it could be worse. So these are the cards I've been dealt this time. So how am I going to play them? So that really changed things for me, because when I woke up the next morning, I no longer saw this sick person when I looked in the mirror. I just saw a guy who had to deal with some shit. Because let's be honest, my issues did not go away, but they didn't have to define me any longer. And I didn't need to let them define me. So like, that's what really shifted for me after that first session, was just not being a victim of my circumstances. And I just need to really reiterate this for anyone listening. That doesn't mean that they weren't real. It just meant that I looked at it a little different than I did the day before. And that changed things for me. So I then just was fascinated by the process for about the next year or so. Then I decided to get certified, and that was in 2016 when I got my certification. And I've been a practitioner ever since. And, I now find myself with a show on New Reality, now doing past life regressions for people. And I have a podcast called Timeless Spirituality, where I talk about a lot of these things. And if you told me more than a decade ago that this is what I'd be doing today, I'd be like, that's funny. That's funny. But here I am. So that's like the abridged version of how I got here and what I do with it.
Yeah. So I'm curious about because you said you didn't grow up in an environment that would support this kind of thing. Did you have some kind of like religious belief, or just people weren't open, or, like just closed to anything like this, any kind of spirituality, or how was that?
Well, look, it's not that I grew up in an environment that wasn't fully open to it, because even to this day, both of my parents are very supportive of what I do.
Oh, cool.
They're my biggest cheerleaders with it. So I'm very grateful and fortunate to have that, because I know that's not the case for a lot of people. I mean, what I meant more was, it was more the system around me that, we didn't learn about past lives in school. And my religious affiliation is Jewish. I grew up Jewish. I was bar mitzvahed. I would consider myself to be more of a secular Jew. But in the 1 year of Hebrew school that I went to, I was also that kid who was not very popular with the Hebrew school teachers, because I said, why? Yeah, they don't like that. So,
yep.
But my relationship with religion has been very interesting. So I got bar mitzvahed because, if I'm being honest, it was the cool thing to do. I grew up in suburban Los Angeles, and around that age, that time of bar mitzvahs, everyone starts talking about them. So my year of Hebrew school was when I was 8, didn't go back when I was 9, for obvious reasons. So a little later on, when I was asked by my parents, like, do you want to have a bar mitzvah? And I said, yeah. So I went through a different process instead of Hebrew school. Like a couple kids in the neighborhood, we had a private tutor. So it was like we were working just in a different environment to kind of get it all down in 2 years. And it, like I said, it was the cool thing to do, to have that bar mitzvah, to have that party. But, after my bar mitzvah, I forgot Hebrew like the next day. And my relationship with Judaism was, it's been up and down, because in the next couple of years, I didn't really indulge in religion at all. And in my early 20s, I felt very lost. And this was, a little bit before I had my autoimmune issues. And I explored a little bit more with religion at that point, and I went on a trip to Israel. Amazing trip. Just may not have gone with the right organization, but there are so many beautiful things about that country. And, this was just the experience that I had. So I just want to say that. So I went in there really vulnerable because of the state that I was in, and wanting to find something to fulfill me. And throughout the course of the trip, I'm just kind of teetering just with a lot of the things that I was hearing. And towards the end, we had a lecture that was about these things called the Bible codes, or the Torah codes. Have you ever heard of these before?
I've heard of the Torah, but not the Torah codes.
It's like the Torah Bible codes are, I hope I don't butcher this right now, but supposedly there's a mathematical formulation that you can use, or equation that shows these events that are hidden inside of the Torah. Like if they go in lines, basically the connections between the Hebrew letters, I guess is what you would call them. Cool. And it may spell out something like, I'm just going to rattle it off here. Northridge earthquake, 1994, JFK assassination, Holocaust, things of that nature. And a lot of what I'd heard on that trip specifically, I really want to nail this in for all the listeners. There are different sects of Judaism, I guess you could say, or different branches. So some are more easygoing than the others. And I just happened to be with one that was a little more, I wouldn't go as far to say radical, but just very convicted in their beliefs. Mm-hmm. So a lot of what I was hearing at the time was that, there's an expression that Jews are the chosen ones. Mm-hmm. And that may very well be true, because I think there's so much we don't understand about the world and about our history, even in recorded history. So forget what goes back even further. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what that term means at its core, but in the year 2007, when I was on this trip, the messaging was just a lot like, we are better than everyone else. Mm-hmm. And I disagree with that. Mm-hmm. And as a past life regressionist, because there's also this concept with Jews that there's a Jewish soul. I think that could be true. However, it is my belief in lives that I've seen through my own regressions that I have not always been Jewish.
I was going to ask that. I'm so glad you said that.
There could be a such thing as a Jewish soul, but it may be in people who are not Jewish right now. And that's just my own theory. But I personally think it's wrong because I think it inherently creates supremacy in one way or another. And this is not what all Jews believe. I know I'm shooting myself in the foot left and right.
We're talking about you. Yes.
So I had kind of hit my breaking point when this lecture came up because of what I'd been hearing. Like that, it kind of disgusted me a bit. And I was fascinated by the Torah codes, because to me, like, if this is real, then we're getting close to tangible proof. Maybe not necessarily that God put these hidden events in there, but that someone who was a scribe of the Torah, or, a writer in one form or another, that they had advanced knowledge somehow. And I'm like, we're getting there. So I raised my hand and I said to the lecturer, God wants what's best for the Jews, right? And the lecturer was, of course, God wants best for the Jews. Like, of course, what kind of stupid question is that? And then I said, then why hide these events in the Torah? Why not just say, get those Jews out of those buildings on 9/11. Do not let the Jews get on those trains. And the response I got is, you do not question what God wants.
Here you go, asking your whys again, Daniel.
Right. And that experience in and of itself really severed me from Judaism. Now, the unfortunate part of that was I let that one person dictate my relationship with my religion. Now, they didn't force my reaction on it, but because of that experience, I said, I'm done with this. I am so done, because that man represented the totality of the established order of Judaism in my eyes. I'm like, I want no part of this. So that was when I was 21. I am rounding the corner to 39 right now. And it is only in the last couple of years when I've really come to this conclusion that Judaism wasn't the problem. It was that guy. He was the problem. He was the asshole, not Judaism. I can't blame Judaism for that schmuck and, his rigidness and his inability to let go of, it's what God wants.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's where I kind of find myself. And it's interesting that it's taken me becoming a past life regressionist to open my eyes to religion even more.
Yeah.
And see that religion is not the problem. I used to look at Christianity and say, a bunch of controlling assholes.
Uh-huh.
Oh, but wait, it's not Christianity that's the problem. It's stupid people that are the problem. It's people. It's not the religion that's the problem. It's the people.
The humans.
So, like, stop vilifying religion, because religion isn't the problem. It's people that are the problem. Yeah. So that is my very, very long-winded way of saying, I feel like I am on this journey to reconnect with my faith in God. And whatever path that may be, whether that be through religion or through past life regression, or just looking at a tree and watching the wind hit the leaves. Ooh. Whatever it may be, like, that's the path I find myself on. And I am not here to impose a belief on anyone or to tell anyone you are wrong. The day may come when I say that, but I still find myself in that camp of could be. It could be. And still distinguishing between, there is a difference between a belief and a knowing or a fact.
Yeah.
And I now wonder if my reluctance to let go of that notion is even limiting me as an individual, because I'm so locked on belief, fact, belief, fact, belief, fact. So it's,
I suppose you'll find out at some point.
Well, yeah, when I look back after I die and it's, oh, wait, nothing. Or, oh, there is something there.
Or I don't exist. Wait.
Sorry, did I answer the question?
You sure did. I'm also wondering, and of course it brings up all these other questions that I have. I'm curious about, so I have two questions. One, how do you integrate your relationship with God into your work with past life regression? And the other thing is, do people need to have a belief, or do they need to have a belief that past lives or future lives are real in order to work with you or to have an effect? Or, I mean, we could probably go down the rabbit hole with both those questions, but initial thoughts?
I'll answer the second question first. The answer is no. You don't have to have a belief in past lives. You just need to be open to the experience. And those are some of the most fun sessions for me, when someone doesn't come in with strong convictions one way or the other, when they and they just allow the process to happen. Yeah. And then when they come back and it's like, whoa.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah. Was
I know that
real?
Look.
Uh-huh.
So that's my answer for that one. And I believe the first question was,
how do you integrate your movement towards having a relationship with God, or a better relationship, and past life regression? I'm curious about different religions, not just Judaism and Christianity and whatever, but I'm curious about beliefs about, reincarnation and things like that. And how do people who don't generally subscribe to that, how do they integrate past life regression then, or future life progression, with their belief system then? How does that work?
I think that's the beauty of the process, is that there is no doctrine for it. So my takeaway from my first session could have been, this is all a bunch of bullshit. I was told that I was going to be healed. Not the practitioner did not tell that or tell me I was going to be healed, but that was just a lot of what I was reading. I could have said that was bullshit.
Mhm.
But I walked away with whatever takeaway I wanted to walk away with. I guess there really isn't an incorporation of God per se, other than if someone wants to allow it to strengthen their relationship with God, if it brings them closer or further away. I think that's completely up to the individual. For me personally, I think it has strengthened my relationship or just my belief in God, because there's like this vastness that comes into the fold once you go through the experience, where you just see that there is so much more here. And even if it's not real, if what you experienced during regression is not real and it's just your subconscious projecting an image or a story to make something more tangible for you, that's fine. An example I use is, you can have a regression. Let's just say I were to do a regression with you. And have you ever been to South Dakota before?
No.
All right. So let's say that you went back to the 1920s in, let's just say Bismarck, North Dakota. And you knew that because we spent the time looking for evidence of where you were in the time period, which I don't generally do because I don't think it helps at all. But let's just say right now, that's what we did. So you saw, a newspaper article. It said March 14th, 1923. And then when I had you go to your house, you said, oh, I'm on 1234 Bismarck Lane. And you took in the details of that house. Let's say it was a brick house that would still be standing today. But you took in every little detail. Then you went and did the research later on, and you found that same house today in 2025 when we're recording this. And you're like, that's the house I saw. I've never been to Bismarck before. I didn't even know Bismarck existed. I thought it was just a pancake mix. And that means that this is real. That means that I lived in that house because that's the one I saw and I've never seen it before. So how could I know this? How could I know these little details? Yeah, sure, there's a tree that's missing. And yeah, the bricks are a little more aged, but everything else is right. So that's the proof. I personally don't believe that that's the proof, because maybe we're being a little closed-minded here. I'm inclined to believe that it was your life, but to me, that's just proof that there's something else, that there's something you're plugged into that is allowing you to see this. And could you call it a coincidence? Yes. I don't believe it would be to that extent. But that could just be proof that you were plugged into something bigger and drawing from something else. And that image took you to 100 years in our past to draw that information out of now, because what was most important for you to see from that life was the shitty relationship that person had with their family.
Okay.
And the parallel that it runs to your life now. So it's more of a tangible understanding that you get in that respect, to see something on display from a third person point of view. Okay. And when it comes down to it, I don't care. I know that makes me a bad past life regressionist or bad for the industry to say that, but to me, it's about what you take away from it.
Yeah,
and
I
that
don't
if
know
it
that
helps
makes you
be
bad.
Yeah.
That's lovely.
I know that there are other past life regressionists who would listen to this and be just tearing their hair out. Like, how dare you say that? It's like, well, does it matter? Do we really need to cling on to our system so much that we're like, this is the way that it is? Absolutely. We know every part of this. We know that if you see that, that is your proof, because how else could you know that? No, yeah. I think it's just proof that there's something else we don't quite understand.
Because people have asked me, how do I know if this is real? And I'll say, it doesn't matter. How does it affect your life? How does it affect your current life? So I'm with you. I'm with you there. On the other hand, let me just say, the only reason why I have a belief that we reincarnate is because of an experience like that. I'm very sciencey, no, 1 + 1 = 2. But I had a 1 + 1 = giraffe freaking moment, and I could not explain that away. And it's the only reason why I know that. I feel like it's a knowing, honestly, even though in your definition it might be a belief, but that past life was real. And literally what you just said is exactly what happened. I saw this building. I knew at that point. I'm like, holy fuck, that there is no way that I could know. This was in the 1300s. How could I know? It's crazy. And so, yeah, but also it doesn't matter because it impacted my present life in such a way that that's the part that mattered.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, it's like fascinating still, right?
Yeah, I think it's a tool that's at our disposal. And for someone like me who I've pretty much now built my life around the concept of reincarnation.
Yeah.
It's okay if it's not real.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think that that when I die, if I look back on this again, it could be like, oh, well, no, there is no reflection because there is nothing. But I don't believe that I would look back and say, that was a life wasted or you were a huckster, because I'm not out here saying right now that this is absolutely the way it is. And I am not out here speaking against anything that I may be questioning. I'm being forthright about it. Whereas I often wonder if I spoke with more conviction about these things, if it would be more lucrative for me. But the truth is that I'm like, maybe, but it's wrong if I do that.
Ah, beautifully said.
Because I know better. And it shouldn't be about that. It should be about what I believe to be the totality of all existence, and that I should just be the best person that I could be and do what I think is the right thing to do. Now, of course, I have my moments of vanity. Hell, I had that bar mitzvah, like I said earlier. But
you were 9.
No, I was 13 at the time. But
okay. Still
makes it a little bit better.
Yeah.
Maybe not. But I'm human. I'm always going to falter. I'm always going to trip along the way. But I cannot in good conscience say that, well, I didn't have to know better. It was okay. It's like, no, if I know better, I need to rise above the fold. So
yeah.
If I can just help people reconnect with themselves and live a more fulfilling life, I'm okay with that.
Well, geez, I feel like that's the most important thing. Well done. Yes. That is the lucrative part. That is the most lucrative part.
Well, it's the most spiritually lucrative part.
Yeah, it doesn't look like money in the bank account always, but yeah, I feel like there's much more meaning with that, I think. So,
like, do you mind if I actually just say one more thing on that?
Of course not.
So, like, even with regards to my show on New Reality, I do a show where I do past lives for people. And when I started to put the feelers out to bring people on, I had someone reach out to me and say, you need to have this person on. It is going to be the most multidimensional, show that you're going to have. They're going to have these alien lives and everything. And I chose not to bring that person on because that would have been the most lucrative choice for me to make. And this also, if we can even take a step further, this goes back to a lot of the past life lessons that I believe that I'm here to learn, which is to act responsibly. If you have a position of authority, to use it in the most responsible way you possibly can. As someone who's a past life regressionist, it doesn't mean that I know more about reincarnation than someone who isn't a past life regressionist. But naturally, people will view me as more of an authority because it's like, well, you do this. Yeah, well, I don't have proof. So, but that comes with responsibility. And to me, one of the things that's getting lost in the industry right now is the vanity of it, because it is becoming much more popular.
It is really?
Oh yeah. I mean, it is catching on, and it's about those like sexy lives. So like, when were you an alien, or when were you in Atlantis or Lemuria, or these lost civilizations, or,
Cleopatra.
These types of things. Right. And while I think that's fascinating, I chose not to bring that person on, because at the end of the day, I'm like, how is this really going to help a viewer live a more fulfilling life? Will this bring in more business? Yeah, because most people are going to want to see, at least watching. Oh, I want to see when I had a life in the ancient civilization of Atlantis. Like, that would be so cool. Not like, hey, you're going to cry your fucking eyes out right now and have this deeply emotional experience. You're going to have snot all over your face.
Yep.
I suggest not wearing your eyeshadow because it's going to be all over you.
Mascara will be all over.
Right.
Yep.
It's not as sexy. And, like, so there's one episode where I haven't aired it yet, but, if anyone watches it, it was like a very because sometimes you see more than one life in a session.
Mm-hmm.
And very meaningful first life. And then it shifted to one of those like ET lives. And I don't know if anyone will be able to see it come over my face, but in that moment, I was just like, oh shit, it's happening. like, oh no. I'm like, okay, this is episode 15 or whatever. It's fine. I've avoided it for the first 15. So,
All right. Come on in, ET. Yep.
Right. So I guess I just kind of want to paint that picture for everyone as a writer, I think one of the most important things, or one of the most fundamental lessons of being a writer or rules is show me, don't tell me. Mm. So now that you guys understand a little bit where I'm coming from with regards to that responsibility, if you look back at everything I've said, it's me basically implementing what I've learned about myself through past life regression and doing the best I think I can do.
Yeah. And you're not afraid to say, I don't know. I don't know the answer. And how does it impact you now? Hey, everyone. Do you love the Reluctant Medium podcast and want to support the podcast while getting some amazing perks in return? Join us at the Patreon community. By becoming a Patreon supporter, you'll get access to exclusive content, behind-the-scenes insights, early episode releases, and a whole ton more. As a member, you'll also have access to spiritual content like guided meditations, in-depth discussions on mediumship, and exclusive interviews with spiritual experts. It's a great way to show your love and stay even more connected with myself and the show. Sign up today at patreon.com/The Reluctant Medium and help The Reluctant Medium keep bringing you the content that you love. I wholeheartedly appreciate each and every one of you. Thanks for listening, and I hope to see you on Patreon soon. What can people expect in a past life regression session with you? You and I were both trained, but by different people. You were trained by like the Dolores Cannon camp, QHT, quantum healing, and all that, right? Mm-hmm. And I was trained by Dr. Brian Weiss. And I don't know a lot about Dolores Cannon. I just know that she's wildly popular. And lots of folks have done work with her trainings, her strategies. I'm curious what people can expect from a session specifically with you trained by Dolores Cannon and doing. And is it, another question, is quantum healing always in tandem with past life regression with you, or is that a separate thing, or how does that work?
So I'm trained in two different modalities. One is QHHT, which is quantum healing hypnosis technique. And the other is BQH, which is beyond quantum healing. So I utilize both in my practice. It just depends on the location of the session.
Okay.
And the technical term for, Dolores Cannon's version of past life regression is quantum healing hypnosis technique, which, also goes by past life regression. So it does work in tandem in that respect. And it's that healing at that deep quantum level, that level that you can't necessarily see. With regards to what someone can expect out of a session, I can't tell you. All I can tell you is what the process looks like.
Cool.
So a session generally lasts about 4 to 6 hours because I need to understand who you are in this life. So we will spend the first hour to 3 hours just talking about who you are in the here and now. And we will go through your life story from birth to today. And that's because of the patterns that will present themselves in your session. And I need to know what's important, because if I don't know what the patterns are in this life, then it's going to be completely lost on me when you are having the experience while you're participating in the regression. So what kind of goes with that then is the difference between me and a past life reader is a past life reader tells you, oh, you were this in a past life and you were that. This was the dynamic of that life. Whereas what I do is use hypnosis to put you in a space where you experience it for yourself. And in turn, you are communicating with me the entire time. And you're saying, this is what I'm seeing. This is what I'm feeling. This is what's happening. And based off of what you say, I will then say, okay, well, let's explore this a little bit more. And that's because of everything you've told me about your life in the here and now and the patterns that are playing themselves out. And the actual experience itself feels different for a lot of people. For me personally, I see an image kind of being shown to me. Sometimes it moves in slow motion, but there's almost that sense of knowing what's going along with it. And this is what's happening. This is what I'm feeling. So it's like, even if you were injured in one way or another, it's like you are aware that you're being injured, but you just don't feel it. You're like, oh, I just got stabbed. You're aware that it is. You're aware of the pain that that version of you was feeling. But you as Dr. Maria would not be like, oh, I'm gushing blood right now. Or, oh, it's just you're aware of it.
You're not re-experiencing any trauma.
Exactly.
Okay.
At least I haven't experienced that with anyone in a session. That's not to say that that potential is not there. I just have yet to discover it.
I haven't either. Yeah.
And here's like also the point where you'll see the threads, although I always encourage everyone to not try to figure it out at that point, because that then comes with what we call speaking to the subconscious or the SC. I mean, another term for it could be the higher self or something we just haven't quite figured out yet. And I would just simply explain it as, at that point in the session, we are unlocking access to a part of your brain that you don't have access to in your normal waking state. So ahead of time, I will send everyone a questionnaire, which is basically questions that you want to have answered about your life. Anything and everything. Why is your favorite color blue? Why do you have these dreams of being in the Wild West? Why did your third grade teacher treat you like shit?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, anything and everything.
Why am I afraid of whales?
Exactly. Why you're afraid of whales. And I'd be like, well, maybe you were the subject for Moby Dick. So when we get to that higher self portion or the subconscious SC portion, that's when we ask the questions that you have come in with. And also that's when we ask, why were you shown the lives that you were shown? What was the significance of that? And I can just say as a practitioner, the coolest thing to watch is that if you allow the experience to unfold, everything will make sense. Even if everything seems like such a jumbled mess, just when you're going through it, it will all make sense at the end. The thread will be there. And it's cool when you see like, oh, okay. All right.
Oh my God.
Right. And that's also the part where a lot of the release can take place. So when these things come up and you see that, oh, something happened, and then we identify it as, okay, this is something that needs to be released on an energetic level. That's when we go through the process of releasing it.
Aha.
But what I've also kind of come to understand in my, nearly a decade of doing this at this point is that I don't think all things are meant to be released. I think that
that's a great point. Ooh, say that again.
That not all things are meant to be released, that some things are meant to stay with you, and not as a punishment, but because it shapes who you are. And releasing it would not be beneficial. And also at that point, I kind of just trust that if this is not being released, look, sometimes it can be because of the individual and because they are not allowing something to be released. But the other times it's kind of like the subconscious or higher self saying like, no, now's not the time, or just no. But, in all of that observation, I'm just really coming to this place that I don't think everything is meant to be released. So
yeah,
I think that's
that's just so profound. It's true. It shapes who we are. Do you feel like that is why you've heard that others are, suddenly healed and you still struggle with, I don't even know if now, but after your first session that you didn't suddenly become completely healed from autoimmune stuff. Do you feel like you needed that in your life?
Look, I mean, even to this day, I'm better than I was at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Needed it? I don't believe so, because I don't believe it was something I really clinged on to.
I saw how I would, like I said, I would look at myself in the mirror and see myself as such.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it was something I ever said, how will I live without this? What will I do when this is no longer here? And the honest truth is, if I'm being honest, I think that that I may have had biological predispositions to something, and that it was brought on by an emotional state.
Good old epigenetics.
And it's not something I've fully dealt with yet. Whatever it is that may still be keeping me in that space a bit, something that I may have a reluctance to look at or accept, or maybe I could just be playing the biggest con on myself. And this was all a byproduct of my need to avoid something. So it's like, oh, well, let's just, let's stick a handicap on me. Again, it's not a handicap I have, but it's like, oh no, you'll need to identify with this. That's the only way that you'll feel fulfilled. And that's the only way you'll take yourself seriously. And that'll be your excuse for not going out there in the world and doing things.
Excuse. Do you feel like it's shaped you?
I mean, how could I not feel that it shaped me in one way or another? But
it led you to past life regression.
It did. And I can't say that I never would have found it had it not been for that. But what I can say with certainty is I never would have found it when I did if it weren't for that. Because even though it kind of fell into my lap, it would happen to be, like I said, in a writing class. It was a memoir writing class, even though I didn't like talking about myself at the time. But I felt the draw to that class when I saw it in the catalog. I didn't understand it. And I never wrote about myself in that class. I just wrote a bunch of fiction. And even for the first assignment, it was a married couple who were the instructors. And they said, "Oh my God, that happened to you?" I said, "No."
That's awesome.
And I mean, they were great. They just encouraged me to, well, here, you may enjoy this story. So the way that it came up was 1 week for the assignment. I just brought my guitar in. He said the whole class was about writing your own memoir. So 1 week I write this scene that was just, completely a fabrication. Again, I owned up to it though. And I just kept doing that 1 week. I'm like, I'm going to bring my guitar in and I'm going to play a song that I wrote. And the song was called Will a Kiss Remind You? And the concept of the song was about finding a lost love in another life.
Oh,
and so,
whoa.
Right. And the instructors, they said to me after I finished, they said, "Have you ever heard of past life regression before?" I was like, "No, what's that?" And they shared their experience from a Brian Weiss seminar that they were at about, an experience that they had. And I mean, it was a great story. And it was this love story of, I think it took place during World War I, if I remember correctly. And I believe he saw himself as a soldier and she had seen herself as the wife of a soldier who went off to war.
Wow.
But their experiences overlapped and he ended up dying. But they didn't say anything to each other. Like once it was done, they're like, we'll talk about it when we get back in the car. And the skeptic that I was, I couldn't ignore their experience because I'd gotten to know them over the quarter at that point.
They were reasonable people.
Very reasonable. And I'm like, these are not the type of people that would fabricate this. And they have no reason. Like, we're in a course about memoir writing.
Yeah.
And they just happen to bring this up right now. Like, they're not going to win, brownie points with everyone doing this. Like, there's no clout. So I took their experience to heart and like, okay. But why, I also bring that up is because right before that, I went and got my genealogy done because in my mind, as inflated as it was back then, like I'm still working on it. But back then I'm like, oh yeah, I can figure out something that the scientists haven't figured out now or the researchers. I'm going to find something in the genetic lineage of migration patterns as being the cause of my autoimmune issues. That's the shit that I told myself. And then I got my results back. It's like, oh, you're 97% Eastern European Jew. It's like, crash and fall. So it was like I hit that brick wall and I'm like, well, the genealogy route was a bust. And then they bring this up. I kid you not. This is all within the span of a couple of days. It's like I was defeated, and then they brought that up, and it's like, okay, I'm going to lean into this now. Because I'm like, something about this feels right. Because I felt like I had set out on this quest and even set an intention without knowing it. Like, I need to go back to my roots to understand this. That was just far beyond the scope of what I was thinking at the time. Like, I don't think past lives. Yeah. I was just thinking, the genetic line.
Yes.
So that's why I say I wouldn't have found it then. I would have, I think at some point I would have come across it, but all I can say with certainty is that this was the path that I did take, and it did happen because I was trying to get to the root of that. And, but then as I'm saying it out loud, I'm like, oh, I did write that song about 4 years before that. So I don't know.
Yeah, you may have had an inkling before that. I like how you said it felt right, which is not the sciencey mind. That's the intuitive mind, right? And it's like you're pulling in both, right?
Last thing on that. That was also a weird time for me because my stepmom had just passed away a few months before. And what really ultimately brought me around to all of this was a book that I read back in the summer of 2014. And when my stepmom was in the hospital, her sister talked about a book called Heaven is for Real. And I remember just like rolling my eyes in my head when she was talking about it. Was about a kid who had a near-death experience.
Yeah.
And, seeing God, I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. But a few months later, I found myself at this place where I'm like, I want to believe that my stepmom is in a better place. So I'm going to go check out that book. And I went on Amazon to buy it, and I read the description. I'm like, I can't. Because there were other things in there that were a little more religious. And I just
a lot more religious. Yeah.
Yeah. It's being nice about it.
Yeah. It was a lot.
And I wanted to, but I couldn't. But right beneath it was one of those suggested reads for whatever or other books that we'd suggest for you. And there was a book called Proof of Heaven. And I'm like, oh, let me look at that. And I saw it was written by someone who was a neurosurgeon. And my skeptical mind kicked in, or not my skeptical mind, but the cynic in me, who's always going to look at these things. And I just kept saying, I don't fully know this guy's financial situation, but he's probably okay. So this guy has everything to lose and not much to gain.
Exactly.
So why would he subject himself to putting this story out of this experience that he had when he risks being completely ostracized by all of his peers and by his family and just whatever it is? I'm like, there's just too much to risk here. Whereas the other book, not to take away from the validity of it, but I'm like, they have a lot more to gain potentially by sharing this experience. And that, again, not to say that it wasn't real, but that's just the way that my mind works and worked. And I'm like,
yeah. And a lot of folks' minds, Yeah. That's Dr. Eben Alexander, by the way. Such a great book. Folks,
great book.
Gotta pick it up. Yeah.
And when I read it, I just kept saying to myself, I don't know if his experience was real, but I can tell that he was moved enough by it to believe that it was real and that it did something for him and shifted his perception of his reality. And he risked everything by putting it out there. At least from my perception, I don't know everything, but the way I saw it is he just has so much to lose and not as much to gain.
Neurosurgeon. Yes. Very well established in the medical field. And yeah, he had a lot to lose. A lot.
Mm-hmm. So it was around that time when I set that intention of just saying, like, I need to get to my roots and understand myself in a much deeper way. And so that's why I went the genealogy route, and then it's like a past life regression plopped in your lap.
Yeah.
So. Okay.
I have a final question because I'm curious about if folks have come back to you, because I also had a very similar several profound experiences with past life regression, and clearly you have. I'm wondering if you've had clients who have come back and told you about the aftermath, like what happened after, and if you've heard people have these sort of oh my gosh, this is how my life has changed because of that experience?
Yeah, I can think of a few.
Yeah. Yeah. Not that you would say their details, but I'm curious about that. If that is like the point, right, is to make these big, maybe not big, but even subtle changes in folks' lives.
I mean, there have been some that have made huge choice, or huge shifts as a result of it. And, I think the others that look at the world differently.
Yeah.
The common one is I see people putting themselves out there a lot more.
Oh.
Because I think there is a layer of fear that's really released. And it's like seeing a part of yourself that you felt but didn't really know that it was there, but then it becomes more tangible. Mm-hmm. And it's not to say that you're going to come back speaking French if you never have before, but it's like seeing there is a facet of your soul, in a sense, that is there. Like you have this power within you and this courage and this strength, whatever it may be. And it gives you that courage and strength to go in a different direction. And look, there's one I know that I can share because this is a friend of mine who I've had on my podcast, and, she shared the experience. So it's, in great detail. And this is, even for me personally, this was a session I did 2 years into being a past life regressionist. And it really opened up my eyes to what was important. And it was about her fiance who had passed away a couple months prior. And she didn't think that there was really a connection there, but she saw that they were together in another life. And we did another regression, and he came in, as like a presence again, and basically showed her who her husband would be and said, like, this is the man who's coming. And it's like one of those things where it's like, okay, I want you to feel his presence right now. So when he may not look how you're seeing him, but you'll know the feeling. And then she reaches out to me, it's like, it's him. I found him. This is like, months later. It was him. It was who David showed me. It's him. And then, she got married to him. They had a kid recently.
Whoa.
And
that's amazing.
Right. But I bring that one up because it was, especially in that first session, it was like she could let go a little bit. Because it was like he gave her that permission to let him go. Because he's like, yeah, I want you to find that love and happiness. Like, I'll always be with you. We've been with each other before. We'll be with each other again. This is just what I'm doing now. So like, you go find him. Like, it's okay. And so it's like, you can let go. And that's the session that changed everything for me, because up until that point, I'd be disappointed if I didn't have a session where it was like aliens or ancient civilizations. Because at that time, like, that's what's cool. But that session showed me that, no, this is the shit that really matters. The stuff that has to do with the heart and really moving forward in life. And so like, that changed me as a practitioner. And I don't know if anything will ever be able to top that.
Mic drop, Daniel, mic drop. I think you're right. We're talking about all these, not you and I, but lots of folks out there are talking about all these phenomenal things. And, they go to psychic readings, and am I going to be the billionaire that I want to be? And am I going to be this famous person or whatever? Like, what is my life going to look like? But does that really matter if you're not living a fearless life? Does that really matter if you're not living fully who you are and being seen for who you really are? And gosh, I don't think there's anything more beautiful than that. So thank you. I think that is the point.
Yeah, I think it's...
Yeah, it kind of is.
Yeah, trying to figure it out. But for now, I'd agree with you until I can come back and say, oh, no.
There's that, I don't know, suspending judgment feeling. Yeah. That's awesome. Daniel, thanks so much. I appreciate your wisdom and your insights and your I don't know, I'm open attitude. I think that's fantastic. It's wonderful.
Thank you for having me on.
Thank you for joining the Reluctant Medium podcast today. I hope that this episode has brought you beautiful, high vibration, and that it continues emanating from your heart space for the rest of the day and beyond. Don't forget to join The Reluctant Medium on patreon.com, and you can also visit thereluctantmedium.us and The Reluctant Medium TV show on newrealitytv.com. Until next time, my friend, may you be well.
Fellow time travelers, your journey through time awaits you. Just want to thank you guys so much for listening to today's episode. And if you're interested in discovering who, when, and where you have been throughout time, and you'd like to book a session with me, just go ahead and send me a message on Instagram at the Past Life Regressionist, or you can reach me through my website, yourpastliferegressionist.com.